Hi, church family. As I come to you, just sharing some of the things that have been important to me and that I've learned over the years of ministry, I've told you repeatedly that I'm not giving a sermon, I'm not preaching, and I'm not giving a theological discourse, and your background may differ from mine, and you may disagree with me, and that is fine. As a matter of fact, today I'm going to share an area where I disagree with me. So if I can disagree with me, I guess you can too. Many years ago, I read this idea. I was in the pastoral ministry, and it just fit well, and I wrote it down and thought, I'm going to keep this as one of those lessons learned in my life. I called them Proverbs for Pastors. And here it goes. Reflect daily. Yes, take some time aside every day to have devotions. Withdraw weekly. Spend some quiet time, a few moments every week. Go to church, pull out of the world. Retreat monthly. Spend several days, 2 or 3 days a month, or maybe one day a month in quiet solitude, and retool occasionally. Learn something new. Go back to class. That was important to me at that time of my life. But I've learned that there is no one type of devotional practice that lasts through our whole lives or that fits everyone equally the same. My mind goes back to a story about an old 16th century Spanish mystic called John of the Cross. Saint John of the Cross. And John of the Cross, he wrote a book, Ascent to Mount Carmel, and a book, Dark Night of the Soul. And in his book, Dark Night of the Soul, he says that the soul, the person longing for God, comes to a dark night, and they realize that they can't handle life by themselves. I mean, I'm paraphrasing and putting my own slant on his book, but you and I have been there at a dark night of the soul, where we can't handle life, and we call out to God for God to come, and we have a new daylight, a new breath of light and breath of his spirit. And then the young Christian just gets eager about devotions. And the young soul that's newly saved reads the Bible and spends hours in prayer and witnesses to other people and find all sorts of ways to live out the Christian faith. And sometimes they build rituals that are helpful for them. But then there comes a time in their lives when the very practices that have helped them grow as a new Christian hold them back as an older Christian. And sometimes the devotions that really were good for them at one time are not good for them at another time. They become routine, hollow. Sometimes the soul puts more energy and more faith in the practice of the routines than in the presence of Christ. And the older Christian soul comes to another dark night of the soul, where to progress in faith means to go beyond that point. Well, then the book goes on beyond that. It's one of my favorites. But the idea behind it is that there's not one devotional practice that lasts forever or that fits equally well with every person. So my suggestion is that you spend some important time, maybe retreat monthly, retool occasionally, and spend that retreat time lining out a devotional practice for you. My suggestion is that you find someone else that is a growing Christian that may be a little older than you and ask them about their devotional life and what has helped them and what hasn't. And then that you lay out a devotional life that will work for your place in life. For instance, if you are a young single person with quite a bit of time, you might have a different devotional practice than if you are slightly older, married, and have some screaming babies around the house. If you are in a busy part of life and you have a job that requires 40, 50, 60 hours a week of work, you might have a different devotional life than a person that's retired. I always thought one of the best fringe benefits of being a pastor was that I was actually paid to have this relationship with Christ, and I could put and invest a considerable amount of time into examining my spiritual life and into devotions. So I don't have an easy answer, but I do think that that you and I should be thoughtful and not just pick up some slogan that we read someplace. I have practiced many types of devotional lives. I have a devotional pattern that works for me right now. It's a different one than I had when I was a pastor. It's a different one that I had when I had children at home. But it works for me. It helps me to grow. It helps me to root into my faith, to examine my motives, to draw close to the Lord. There's been 2 or 3 times in the last few days that I've just marveled at God's love for me and just had this special time of worship when it was just God and I together. So there are different kinds of devotional lives. There are active disciplines, that is, caring for the needy. There are doing good deeds, being a part of the community. There are internal times of prayer and Bible reading and scripture reading. There are disciplinary times of watching your diet, perhaps fasting. There are many different kinds of devotional practices, and we might try over a lifetime many different ones. But my thought is for this week to suggest that everyone that listens to me becomes intentional and thoughtful and really prays about it, consults other people about it, that you have faith that they know what they're doing, and kind of put together a devotional life that works for you at this time, at this place. That's meant a lot to me in my life.